Welcome to ANS Live. I'm here with Mike Gregson from Sandia National Laboratories. We are currently inside the Visualization Laboratory thanks to Texas Advanced Computing Center at the University of Texas. Mike Gregson is a distinguished alumni from the University of Texas and working at Sandia National Laboratories. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Mike Gregson. I'm a former Longhorn. I got my bachelor's and master's degree from UT. So I'm a mechanical engineer and a nuclear engineer, I guess, by training. Went and worked at Sandia and got my PhD while I was working there, also in nuclear engineering, and I've been there for about 20 years now.
How do you feel your work impacts society?
Yeah, the national labs have a kind of a unique role to play where the government funds these, what they call federally funded research and development centers, these national labs, to kind of tackle some of the more pressing problems that the nation faces. And so Sandia in particular does a lot of national security type work, spanning all the way from nuclear weapons stockpiles all the way to energy security and information security, kind of anything that you can think of with security in the background. That's kind of what we do and what we specialize in. So a lot of the things that we work on don't actually always get seen in day-to-day life, and there's good reasons for that. But at the end of the day, we're all about national security.
How did you choose your career field?
Yeah, I've always been a big fan of science and kind of engineering stuff. I always loved taking stuff apart. That's kind of how I got started with mechanical engineering. And so throughout kind of my undergraduate degrees, I took more and more classes, started to kind of take a liking to kind of the nuclear engineering area. And so Texas has obviously a nuclear engineering program and a nuclear reactor facility. And so it was kind of cool, spent some time working down there doing some prompt gamma activation type analysis and then also, of course, taking the coursework, and it was just really interesting to me. So I've really enjoy learning, and I think that was kind of a unique aspect of my education.
What unique role do you fulfill at the lab?
So one of the things that I guess a unique role that I fill at the laboratory is we have kind of different divisions that focus on various things at the lab. We have kind of a research and development area. We have kind of a nuclear weapons development area. We have kind of a whole group that supports like conventional weapon systems and the like. Part of the thing that I do and the thing that I really enjoy is I kind of sit at the cross point of some of these different domains. And so I sort of bring different skill sets to the table, from kind of the nuclear weapons line, where I've spent quite a few years in, to doing some of the non-proliferation work. And so questions like you were asking about New START and kind of what that means. One of the key things that I think I'm really good at is being able to kind of talk both languages, because the crowd that focuses on kind of traditional non-proliferation issues are very different than the types of crowds that do DoD and then also the nuclear weapons side of the house. And so being able to understand kind of what the issues are on both sides of the house and help them kind of communicate and ultimately maybe try to come up with some solutions that are agreeable to both sides as we go forward as a nation in these areas is kind of something that I've really enjoyed doing. And unfortunately, it's going to be kind of a growth area, I think, the way things are currently going.
What impact do you want to have on the world based on your career?
I think at the end of the day, again, going back to kind of what Sandia specializes in, a lot of the things I have worked on have kind of provided technical analysis to sort of senior level decision makers. And some of those are within Sandia itself, and some of those go to the Department of Energy and even higher at other parts of the government. And so part of what I think what we excel at in particular is being able to take really complex things, put them together in ways that senior decision makers can use that information to help them make better informed decisions to ultimately improve the security of the nation. So I think at the end of the day, anything that we do that helps improve our standing and security in the world, because the world's kind of going in a bad direction right now, is a really good thing.
I just want to talk about careers that students might have that are interested in Sandia National Labs. What skills is Sandia looking for both STEM and non-STEM student if they're looking to apply?
Yeah, so the national labs are heavily focused on kind of, we do hire, even non-college degree holding people, bachelor's, master's, and PhDs. I would say Sandia in particular really emphasizes kind of the master's and PhD level, just in terms of the quantities of degree types that we hire. We kind of hire the whole spectrum of degree sets, so certainly kind of the core competencies of like electrical engineering and mechanical engineering and chemical and the like, but also some of the more exotic ones like nuclear engineering and petroleum engineering and all of those. So from a technical standpoint, I would say anybody that wants to do kind of national security type of stuff, if it's got engineering in the title, there's probably a place where you can fit in. Well, the non-technical side of the house, there's also opportunities there. They're probably not as great, again, because most of the things we're working on are kind of hard, engineering kind of, types of problems. But I would say, I've worked with lawyers and also political science people and some geologists and the like. And so there are specific areas where those types of skill sets are very helpful as well.
What part of your job really excites you?
I think the one thing that keeps me going day in and day out is there's two pieces of it. One is the people that you get to work with. And so I talked a little bit about kind of the different skill sets that people have, and that's not unique. I mean, a lot of companies offer that kind of capability, but I would say the type of people that the labs try to hire really are kind of the best of the best to the extent that we can, and try to find the best students that will fit kind of in those key areas. So part of it's the people that you get to work with, and the other part's the problems that you get to solve. So I talked a little bit about kind of some of these national security problems that exist out there with countries pulling away from arms control agreements and other countries increasing their nuclear stockpiles and other countries invading other countries. Unfortunately, the world is kind of going in a bad direction. And so some of these problems that the nation faces, the government looks to the national labs to help solve some of those. And so that's part of the job that I really like. Unfortunately, these aren't easy problems to solve, and some of these take years and sometimes even decades to actually solve. But by working with interdisciplinary teams that are really good and then working on these really hard problems, when you bring those two things together, it makes for a really fun work environment.
What is the work life like at Sandia?
Yeah, so kind of a day-to-day job is, I'll start with kind of what work is not. And so we have a kind of a huge work-life balance, which is one of the things I really like about working there. So work is work, and while I'm at work, you work hard. There's lots of things to work on, but I also like not being at work all the time as well. So to me, that was actually a really important part. It kind of depends on where you're at and what you do in the lab. So there's people at the lab that focus on technologies that are in kind of labs themselves, putting things together, taking measurements, building things. There's people that work in facilities to actually test hardware and equipment. There's people that build things. And then people like myself I spend a lot more time behind the computer, behind a desk, trying to piece kind of some of these complex stories together that I was talking about earlier. But again, it's kind of the environment, I would say, is very collegial, because a lot of these problems that we work on are multidisciplinary. It requires sort of skill sets that exist across the board. And so most of the groups that I work with, they're not just exclusive nuclear engineers or mechanical engineers. It's kind of a whole team of people, because that's what it takes to solve some of these problems.
For candidates considering working at Sandia, what can you tell them about life in Albuquerque?
Yeah. So Albuquerque's is in New Mexico, so we're in the high desert area, so it's kind of nice. We do get a lot of sun kind of all throughout the year, but we also do get 4 seasons, kind of unlike here in Texas. And so we get cold winters and we get hot summers and we get some snow and the like. So one of the things I love about Albuquerque is it's a smaller town. It's kind of like what Austin used to be, and so you're not stuck in traffic all the time. There's a lot of outdoor stuff. There's a mountain range right next to the town, and so if you like doing outdoorsy things, whether it's mountain biking, hiking, you can go up in the mountains and do skiing, that kind of thing. That's always great. I really love they've got beautiful sunrises and sunsets. That's probably like one of my favorite things that I really love about there. It's like every day it's pretty amazing to go outside and see that. So,
how could a STEM student work in intelligence at Sandia National Labs?
yeah, so within kind of the intelligence community writ large, that's also a kind of a multidisciplinary type of team. There are groups that kind of focus more on policy type issues, and there's other areas where it requires sort of technical analysis of information. And so it requires, I would say, again, going back to kind of the same degree sets that we talked about earlier, the types of problems that exist in that domain require the exact same types of skills and experience that exist kind of on the other side of the house. And so I think it kind of depends on sort of what part of that problem set that you look at, because intelligence sort of spans a whole lot of topic areas in particular, but within kind of the national security realm, I mean, certainly within the things that people care about, like nuclear, chem, biological weapons, there's obviously a huge emphasis on that, but certainly cybersecurity is another area that, I mean, it's every day it seems like there's always something new out there in this cyber domain of somebody getting hacked or something getting leaked, that kind of thing. So there's obviously a lot of effort and energy underway to kind of build those systems to, on the defensive side, to better protect the nation.
I wanted to shift to questions about current events that are in our news recently.
Okay.
What are concerns about Russia walking away from New START?
New START's it's been a great treaty. It's been, started under the Obama administration and kind of continued through Trump and now through President Biden, excuse me. It's been one of the great things is it has kind of a suite of sort of transparency and verification measures associated with it, so both sides have confidence that they're maintaining the limits that the treaty sets forward. And so when one party decides to walk away or not do their part of the treaty, it raises questions on the other side of the house, like, what are they doing? Are they actually going to live by the central limits in the treaty? Their government has said that even though they're not going to play by the rules in the treaty, they're still going to abide by it for the time being. And so for now, we kind of have to take them on their word or use kind of other, national technical means to kind of verify some of that. But as time gets further and further away from when we had that last sort of transparency and data exchanges with them, it creates more uncertainty in policymaker space. And so it gets harder and harder to kind of understand what they're up to and where they're going.
How might the U.S. respond to interest NATO and other allies might have towards nuclear weapons following the Russian invasion of Ukraine?
Yeah, so nuclear weapons have been a part of NATO. It's kind of the glue that's held them together ever since NATO was founded. There's an article within kind of the treaty that basically says an attack on one's an attack on all. And so when Russia decided to invade Ukraine, Ukraine was not a NATO member, and so that clause didn't apply to them. But because Russia, through the Budapest Memorandum, had actually said that they were going to help protect Ukraine, so when they went back on that word and actually invaded them, it created a lot of uncertainty and a lot of angst, I would say, especially in the countries that surround the Russian territories. The Baltic states and Poland in particular have expressed a lot of concern about what Russia is doing, both from a conventional standpoint and then some of the nuclear threats that their vice president has made in terms of that they might actually use nuclear weapons to help offset kind of the imbalance that they're seeing.
Recently in the news, there has been discussion about Russia putting a nuclear weapon in outer space. Can you discuss what those concerns are related to that weapon?
Yeah, so I think the headlines have specifically focused on Russia developing some type of concerning anti-satellite capability. And so there's a treaty that we were all signatories to, the Outer Space Treaty, which said we wouldn't weaponize space, especially with nuclear weapons. And so whatever intelligence is kind of supporting the concern there, anything that a country is doing to put weapons in outer space is very destabilizing. The United States has, obviously large constellations of satellites in space that provide, things like GPS and precision timing that basically affect everything in modern life. And so we've become very reliant on those systems. And so if an adversary wanted to do kind of significant harm to the United States, if you affect that constellation, then it would have a huge ripple effect through kind of everything that we have. So wherever the concern that exists there, it's going to take a lot of effort to try to kind of sort that out. And unlike things on the ground where you can send inspectors to check it either is nuclear or it's not nuclear or it's something else, it's really hard to do that in outer space. And so whatever that capability is, Russia's not been forthcoming, and I don't expect that they will be in the days ahead. And so how the government tries to solve that problem is going to be a tough one for sure. Mike,
what are you hopeful for about the future of our world?
Yeah, so despite all the kind of some of the negative things we talked about, I think there's a lot of optimism that exists out there. Unfortunately, when the world kind of goes bad, it sort of forces, nations and other countries that normally kind of wouldn't cooperate together to start cooperating together. And so I would say, entities like NATO, there's been so much more increased emphasis on security and even increasing members to NATO. Things that are going on in the Pacific, you're starting to see kind of alliances and partnerships being built with like South Korea, Japan, and Australia and the like. And so I think while there is the negative side of kind of what's going on out there, the positive aspect of it is that in the fight for kind of, keeping the sort of diplomatic nations and that exists out there, at least there's partnerships and others that are willing to kind of, glom on to the U.S. and try to stand firm to kind of some of the values that we have and to promote sort of stability in the world overall.
Mike Gregson, thank you for your time.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.